Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you commit to something and then you feel super stressed right after, or you feel unsettled? And it's almost like your body knows that you've actually committed to something beyond your capacity. We've all been there. I talk a lot about signals and pattern recognition, and this is something that I see over and over and over again in clinical practice. Now, these patterns can affect all brains, but the ADHD brain can be especially susceptible to the impulsivity, the emotional urgency, or that stimulation seeking behavior. It can lead to a difficulty in really being able to gauge future capacity in the moment. And a lot of people think overcommitting is just poor time management. It's not, it's a lot more than that. But usually the shift starts at the emotional level first, right? You can feel it. And maybe it feels like internal tension. Maybe it feels uncomfortable. In the moment, it can feel exciting, but you can also feel a pressure because you don't want to disappoint somebody. And this urgency can take over before the brain has a chance to fully process that long-term commitment. So that signal that I talk about, that shift usually starts before saying yes. Overcommitting can become a repeating nervous system pattern if you let it. Saying yes can temporarily relieve that tension in the moment, but can lead to overload later. And as time goes past, people begin to start carrying too much emotional obligations inside of them, and they can lead to open loops, poor decision making, overwhelm, isolation, burnout, and much more than the nervous system can sustainably hang on to on a daily basis before someone burns and crashes, which is the last thing we want, right? So this is actually one of the reasons some people with ADHD constantly feel like they're getting pulled off course. The mental overload piles up, the emotional exhaustion is constant, inconsistency piles up. And when you talk about maximizing your potential, it can be tough because you spend so much time managing internal pressure, maybe instead of moving with purpose and alignment. There's a lot of nuances here. So the goal isn't to become rigid and saying yes to everything ever. It's not the goal, but it's really learning to recognize in the moment when you're already at capacity and following through with that, to pause and stop and say, am I actually in alignment with this commitment? And steadiness, which I talk about a lot, when we stop building our lives around a system that our nervous systems can't support. So try this. The next time you want to say yes to something, in the moment, pause and ask yourself what you're about to sign up for in alignment with where you are right now. I'm Darren. If you found this video valuable, even a small amount, subscribe to the channel.